1,000 generations of Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace, justice, and the old before the dark side, before the Empire.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Journal of the Jedi. I am Christopher Stolle, your host, and I'm going to take this moment real quick to welcome you to the third time we got to be a part of this event, which is Star Wars Podcast Day 2023. The reason for this event, just to give you guys a quick reasoning before I get into the topic of conversation here, is to remember the fact that this date, February 7th, marks the 24th anniversary of JEDI Talk. And what JEDI Talk was the first ever Star Wars podcast. In other words, all the podcasts you've been enjoying today for Star Wars Podcast Day, including Journal of the Jedi here, would not have existed if it wasn't for JEDI Talk. So every year we all gather together, put on some great Star Wars content for you, and it's all in honor of JEDI Talk. So guys, let's take a moment to appreciate JEDI Talk. Thank you very much to JEDI Talk, and of course to all you guys wanting to come hear us talk about the greatest franchise in history. With that out of the way, guys, welcome to Journal of the Jedi. It's not going to be a long podcast this year because there's not a whole lot to talk about. I could review like Bad Batch, and I could speculate and talk about the upcoming like Ahsoka or Skeleton Crew and all that, but I mean, that's all been done to death. So I thought, I saw a thing on Facebook not too long ago, and it made me start thinking about what ifs. And I know a lot of fans, especially fans of the extended universe, the legends, whatever you want to call it, have clamored for a very long time for the return of Starkiller from the Force Unleashed video game series. And there was a couple books based on the video games dealing with the character of Starkiller. I believe his original name was Galen Merrick, if I'm not mistaken, who was the secret apprentice of Darth Vader in those games, and winds up rebelling against the Dark Lord and winding up becoming integral to the formation of the Rebel Alliance. And then again in Force Unleashed 2, he is resurrected as a clone, but still has the memories of the original character, and again rebels against Vader and continues on with his fight. Great video game series. He was definitely a overpowered but very powerful character. So the question raises, would we want the current Star Wars canon and Star Wars universe under Disney? There's been a lot of requests for Starkiller to become canon. Obviously, we can't do the Force Unleashed games. The story arc and everything else would not fit the current canon of Star Wars. But would there be a space? Would there be a place? And how would you fit in Starkiller into the universe and the canon as it stands now? I figured I would speculate a little bit on this and give you my pros and cons on why I think it would or would not be a good idea to bring Starkiller to current canon. And I want to start this off by saying I have in no way, shape, or form any dislike towards the character. I don't. I love the video games. I thought the character was compelling. I would love to see it come to live action, especially if we can get the voice actor to play the part, because I mean, even the character was modeled looks wise after the voice actor. So I would love to see him maybe have the opportunity to step into live action and play the role himself. But do I think it's necessarily a good idea for the canon? No, I don't. And there's multiple reasons. One, you can't call him Starkiller. I mean, Disney already kind of shot that load when they created Starkiller Base. You used the name somewhere else. So unless we're naming him after the base, or the base was named after him, depending on where they decided to put him in the canon, you couldn't really use that name. So right off the bat, you're going to lose his recognition to his fan base to a lot for a lot of people, because the new Star Wars fans that may not be familiar with the Force Unleashed are not going to know who the hell he is anyway. And the expanded universe fans who love the Force Unleashed and love the character are just going to feel it's not right that he's not Starkiller. So right off the bat, you have that first issue: is how would you give him the name, and would the name represent in some way, shape, or form, if you can even give it to him, to Starkiller Base in Episode 7 or whatever the case may be. I don't know. Like, if he's coming off of after, like, he's no longer Vader's secret apprentice, he's something else. Does he take the moniker Starkiller because of Starkiller Base, or vice versa? If he takes place during his initial time, the time frame that Force Unleashed took place, would he possibly then be, done something so impactful throughout history that they name Starkiller Base after him? In which case, how do you hide that from the original Star Wars canon, the original movies? Why was he never mentioned? The way they did it in the video game, it made sense that he was at best a footnote in history, not remembered, so that way it didn't mess with the story arc of at that point the 6 movies, because 7, 8, 9 hadn't existed yet. But those are some of the things I think we would have issues with. However, there is pros to this too. I think bringing him in, even if he doesn't have the name Starkiller, but we make it known that this is Starkiller from Force Unleashed, whether they give him his actual name, which again, it's been a while since I played the video games, but I believe his name was his birth name was Galen Merrick. And I specifically remember that because of when I saw Rogue One and they named Galen Erso. I chuckled a little bit, like Galen, that was Starkiller's name. So I remember that specifically. So I'm pretty sure his first name was Galen. I'm pretty sure his last name was Merrick. So at that point, I think you can give him his birth name, and most people should be able to recognize him. But the fact of the matter is the guy is an absolute beast power-wise. He grows. I think his story arc would be very compelling. Like, as a scenario, let's put him in the current canon. Let's put it after Rise of Skywalker. I'll pause for the groan. And we will simply state that he was a wild Jedi. I'm not going to use the word gray because people who've ever watched my podcast know I cannot stand the concept of the gray Jedi. There is no such thing, and never was intended to be. But I'll use the term wild, untrained Jedi, somebody who does not necessarily see the light or dark side. They just see the Force. They have a natural ability to it. So, and again, I'm spitballing, I'm throwing spaghetti at a wall, seeing what sticks. But let's say, for the sake of argument, we take Starkiller out of the evil apprentice role, and we just make him a wild Jedi who, is doing what he wants to do, doesn't care if he's hurting people or whatever else. He's not necessarily evil, but he hasn't learned to not give in to dark impulses. And then he meets Rey. And I think this would be great because, one, it would be a foil for Rey and everybody who thinks that Rey is a little bit too much of a Mary Sue. Didn't earn her powers. Okay, she didn't earn her powers, but maybe she can earn respect through teaching somebody who is obviously way more powerful than she is. I think that might be a compelling Master Padawan scenario, and it would give an opportunity to, in a sense, redeem Daisy Ridley's character, who was criminally mishandled by the writers. I can't blame Daisy Ridley. A lot of people do, and you shouldn't. I don't blame Daisy Ridley, obviously. I thought Rey was a compelling character. I thought she did a good job for what she had to play Rey. But I think the writing and the fact that we didn't have a cohesive 3-part story put together from the beginning to really understand where this was supposed to go in the sequel trilogies did a disservice to Rey. And I think she takes a lot more hate than she deserves. as a character because it was not her. It wasn't her. It wasn't her actor that ruined the suspense and the beauty of the character. It was the writers and the rush to create the trilogy that they shouldn't have rushed to do. Enough of the defense. I think it would be a smart and positive reinforcement to Ray to wind up finding and subsequently training Starkiller, to let go of his hate, to start being more of a Jedi, and becoming a positive role model, and settling down this out of control, untrained Jedi that would be Galen Merrick. I think that would be a smart way to bring him in. But even if they don't go with that again, I was just spitballing for I don't know, something to talk about. But say they don't bring him in. Say they decide to put him in his own role, or maybe a spin-off where he has nothing to do with the original saga or anything else, or however they want to do it. I think the other pro is he is a recognizable character that will bring butts to the seats. No, I don't want a live action series. If they decided to do something with Starkiller, I don't want a live action on Disney Plus. I don't want a cartoon, a serial cartoon or anything like that. I want a live action movie. Give Sam Witwer a live action movie playing this character, and I guarantee you people will buy tickets and sit down to watch it, and not just because it has Star Wars on the title. You give them Starkiller, people will come to see it. You make him OP as hell. You turn him into Neo from the Matrix in the Star Wars universe, and people will come to see it. It's just that plain and simple. The way he played in the video game, if you give us that, where he's just unbridled force, ability, and rage, but yet is learning that you got to let go of your hate if you really want to be something in the universe, I think would be very compelling altogether. I think it would sell tickets. I think people would flock to see a Sam Witwer led live action movie of Starkiller. I do. But like I was just speculating, the biggest problem out of anything else besides the name itself, Starkiller, is where do you put him in the current canon? In the previous canon, he took place in between episode 3 and episode 4. That was his spot. That was his place. He did not essentially affect too much of the 20-year gap between episode 3 and episode 4. So that's why I call him a footnote. Not that the character himself is a footnote, but that what happened in the video games, and at the time when they were kind of considered canon, they did not affect the outcome of the story arc of the Star Wars saga. So with that type of mindset, if we could do something with him like that, or we put him after episode 9, so that way whatever he does, it doesn't matter if it affects the storyline, because now we're writing new storyline to go past. I think it's the best place to put him if we're going to put him anywhere. Or, and I might get shot for this, but I just kind of thought of this. What if we put him in the Old Republic days? What if he becomes the hero to take on a finally canonized Darth Revan? Maybe he's the one that turns Revan to the light. Again, anything can happen, because the original story arcs of Knights of the Old Republic and Force Unleashed and all the Legends books are no longer canon. So you could cherry pick and you could pick and choose. And as they proved in Star Wars Rebels, you could put characters who belonged in another time frame into a new time frame, and they can fit in if done right. So why not? Two of the most powerful Force users in video game history going off against each other. It would be Freddy versus Jason in the Star Wars universe. I think that'd be awesome. But what do you guys think? I really want to know. Would you even want to see a live action Starkiller Star Wars movie or TV show or cartoon? Let me know in the comments section down below. What era do you think a Starkiller should appear if he does become canonized? And how would you see his story arc going? Let me know in the comments section down below. Again, thank you very much for joining me for Star Wars Podcast Day 2023. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will catch you on the next Journal of the Jedi, and may the Force be with you.